Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Homebody. Homebody Eats, more specifically. This is where we get in the kitchen and show you things to bring into your home to make for loved ones, family members. Hopefully those are doing the same for you. The thing that we're doing today is a mushroom carbonara. Typically carbonara is a mix of pasta, eggs, some form of cheese like a Romano and a Parmesan, which is what we're kind of balancing those. We're doing half and half today. Some people make carbonara with just Parmesan. So me specifically, I really enjoy the mix. You get kind of a nice nuttiness to it. So we're gonna do a vegetarian version though. Typically carbonara has also guanciale, which is a pork cheek in it. So we're not gonna use that today, but we're gonna use mushrooms instead today. So I have some mushrooms actually cooking here. So I'm gonna show you those, what they look like. We got them started early because mushrooms take a long time to cook down when you have them in the pot because they have so much moisture. You don't need any specific type of mushroom. They all bring a really nice umami flavor, which is one of the things that really enhances this dish. So we've had these in the pan, cut up into equal sizes. We've had them in there for about 12, 13, 14 minutes, something like that now. Point is that we want to have them be really browned nicely, and we want them to release all of the water that they have. They're not going to brown up until the water content is removed. So you can see that we have a lot of nice, it's called a Maillard reaction, which is where you have caramelization on the outside of the onion. So that's when you know that they're good to go.
Okay, so for our cheese for this recipe, we're using a Romano and a Parmesan blend. There's a 50-50 blend. You can use either one just on its own. I like both of them personally. We used 4 egg yolks and then 1 whole egg. In here, I actually dropped one, so there's, so yeah, 5 eggs, just 1 whole. We have some garlic, and then we also have some shallots there, about 2 medium shallots, about 5 to 6 garlic heads, just finely minced. On these ones, you basically just don't want to let them burn as you're going. The eggs are going to provide a base for us to put our cheeses in there. It's going to look a little weird at first, but basically the pasta water that we'll reserve from after cooking those noodles to left there, it's going to mix in with here, and then also the fat that we're using from the butter is going to go into here, and those are going to emulsify to bring about a really nice sauce. So while we're working with this, it's going to look a little bit weird and funky until we actually put the pasta in. Once it's cooked, all those starches and all those things are going to come together where it becomes almost like velvety, essentially. So that's kind of what we're trying to go for with this. Don't be alarmed if it looks a little bit weird at first. So like I said, we're putting in the cheese here. I grated my Romano super big. I wasn't paying attention. I used the big holes on the grater instead of the small ones. Go fine with it. Otherwise, it's going to look a little chunky. That's fine when it starts to melt up and stuff, but these are just little detail bits I can give you. You can see those little big strands of the Romano in there. So that's not ideal. You want the smaller ones, but happy accidents, Bob Ross said. And we'll just go with that. It'll still be delicious. Okay, so we didn't have a flat pan in here, so I'm actually using a really tiny stock pot to cook my shallots and my garlic. We don't want these to go super long, don't let them brown. But basically, you're just gonna keep stirring them for a little bit. This is just the pan I had on hand, which I don't really love copper. So next thing, with your pasta, you're gonna drop it in. Just make sure that you've salted your pasta water. We use the same pan that we had going with the mushrooms, so we get some nice umami kind of water that has salt in it. You want your salt to be as salty as the ocean, as the Italians say. Take it a few steps back from there, don't make it that salty, but we're gonna take that same water, we'll reserve it when our noodles are done. So you have about a ½ cup to a cup. We're just gonna start working around in those eggs and the cheese mixture. This allows for us to temper it without scrambling the eggs. So this is a really big, important reason why we put the eggs on their own, is so that we don't have problems with that. We don't wanna scramble them, flash cook them, anything like that. You see how it's starting to become a little bit more velvety? That's the starch working into it. Alongside those, the cheese and then the fat that will be going into it also. Once we put the mushrooms in, that butter that's still in there, it's gonna bring everything sort of together. So here's our mushrooms and our shallots and our garlic. And then we'll just work that around here too. Like I said, that's gonna start to emulsify it. And the last thing that we're gonna eventually bring in here is that pasta. So I've drained it over there off camera. This is what it looks like before we add in our pasta. And you'll see it'll come together in like a really nice velvety way. Still looks a little bit weird until we add this in here, but that pasta starts to bring out the thickness and the velvety nature of it because the starches help to get us there. So we have that fat that's also working around with the butter. So get a really nice, cool, plate to put it on. You can spin with a fork there against a spoon, a serving spoon, if you want to make it really nice and fancy looking. I'll do 1 or 2 of these, and then we'll top it off with the other elements. Sometimes it's hard to grab the mushrooms and the grab with the pasta, so I'll put those on after this. We used a certain amount of mushrooms in here. It's a little bit light on the mushrooms. I'll probably do more next time. The other thing I would say to add is pepper. We had pepper in the office. This is one of the downfalls of cooking in the office. We had pepper, lost it, not sure where it is. So be sure to do that. And then we salted off camera a little bit too. So just make sure that the taste is there. All the flavors are there, so just bring them forward with salt.
And that is our mushroom carbonara. I hope that you enjoy making this for your family. It's a very umami-filled, awesome food. If you do elect to do a non-vegetarian version, like I said, the guanciale really adds a lot of stuff to it also, but if you're a vegetarian, boy, it doesn't get much better than like this sort of pasta. So I hope that you enjoy making this. There's gonna be a recipe that will have the kind of rough step-by-steps. With these videos, I tend to just vary things up a little bit. So if you wanna buy the numbers recipe, we'll have one in there and a little description for the video as well. So enjoy. We're gonna dig in here. I'm sure it's gonna be delicious, and hope that you have a good time making it.